Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about William Shakespeare's play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Now, I've read this play several times before. I've seen productions of it. I've seen film versions of it. But the most recent time that I read A Midsummer Night's Dream was some fairly unusual circumstances. I was leading a study abroad course in London, where we were studying literature. And the students decided that they wanted to do a read-through of A Midsummer Night's Dream. And so they recruited myself, my co-instructor, my partner who was on the trip with us, and our EF Tours field director, all to read parts, and all of the students read in the performance as well. So it was really, really interesting to sort of bring the play to life in this very sort of informal, haphazard way. It was quite clear that many of the students, A, did not know the play, B, had not really looked at their lines ahead of time. And so there's this interesting sort of blend of like the joy of creation with this fly by the seat of our pants approach to putting this thing together. And the reason that I mention that is that's actually really fitting for A Midsummer Night's Dream on a couple of different levels. One is the storyline with the fairies, particularly Puck. Puck is, and this is my partner's pet theory, and I think it makes good sense. Puck is Gilligan. Sorry, the Count's automatic litter box is going, so I don't know if the mic is picking that up or not. But Puck is Gilligan, right? So Puck is this character who, in following instructions from his superiors, Oberon and Titania, Puck creates chaos. But he doesn't just create chaos. He's not simply an agent of chaos. He's also an agent of correction, right? He corrects that chaos. So, for instance, Pat's about to get up here, I think, in frame. Maybe not. So, for instance, Oberon tells... So there's the four lovers, Hermia, Lysander, Helena, and Demetrius. And they're sort of boring, in my opinion. It's a weird play, Midsummer Night's Dream, because the primary four characters whose fates we're supposed to be interested in are not that interesting. It's really the sort of secondary storylines, the low plot storylines that are much more fascinating, in my opinion. And the Oberon, Titania, Puck one is one of the low plot storylines. But you've got Hermia, who is pursued by Lysander and Demetrius. You've got Helena, who is pursuing, I think, Helena is pursuing Demetrius. Basically, it's a sort of four-way love triangle. They're wandering around the woods at night, each trying to sort of get with who they want to get with. Oberon observes them, and he says to Puck, "Go and anoint this Athenian's eyes with this herb, so that when he wakes, he will see this woman, Helena, who loves him, and he will love her back." The problem is, Puck anoints the wrong Athenian's eyes. Rather than anointing Demetrius's eyes, he anoints Lysander's eyes. Oberon attempts to correct this, but then subsequently anointing Demetrius's eyes. So now both Demetrius and Lysander are in love with Helena and not Hermia. So Hermia is now out in the cold, as it were, etc., etc. The chaos caused by Puck. But at the end, he brings everybody back together. Oberon sort of undoes the charm, and so Puck sort of solves these problems that he creates, which is, as my partner points out, the same thing that Gilligan does in Gilligan's Island. He attempts to do things that are going to be helpful, or that he's told to do by the skipper or the professor or whoever it is. He attempts to be a useful person, but his attempts to be useful create chaos. But then at the end, he brings things together and he solves the chaotic situation that he has created. And so in that sense, the sort of improvised, extemporaneous approach that we took to this reading of the play really makes a lot of sense. This idea of we're going for it and we don't necessarily all know what we're doing, but we're going to do it with a great deal of enthusiasm, actually really aligns with the sort of thematic element that a character like Huck brings to the story. The other element that's more interesting to me is the Rude Mechanicals storyline. And this is the other low plot storyline. The Rude Mechanicals, Nick Bottom, a weaver, Peter Quinns, a carpenter, Francis Flute, a bellows mender, Tom Snout, a tinker, Snug, a joiner, and Robin Starveling, a tailor. Basically just some working class dudes. They decide, sort of at the behest of Peter Quinns, who is one of the characters that I played in our read-through, along with Aegeus. So they get together at the behest of Peter Quinns to perform a play for the Duke. They're going to perform, or at least offer to perform, a version of Pyramus and Thisbe, this very traditional ancient Greek myth. The problem is they aren't actors. They aren't artists. What they are craftspeople, right? They're weavers, carpenters, tailors, tinkers, etc. And so their performance is ridiculously bad. It's full of this sort of nonsense. These people sort of get stage fright and like forget their lines and things like this. I think it's Robin Starveling who plays the moon and basically just sort of repeats, "I am the moon and this lantern is my lantern," in sort of variations multiple times. That was the role that Andy, my partner, played. You've got Nick Bottom who overacts everything. And again, it is this sort of swirling vortex of chaos and insanity that's clearly put on with a sort of joyous will, but a lack of skill. The Rude Mechanicals do not know what they're doing, and they put on a bad play, to be honest. But what Theseus and his party, Theseus is the Duke, what they say about it, let me find this bit here. So initially they're not that, Theseus and his party who decide to watch this play, they're not that impressed with it. Hippolyta, that's Theseus's new bride, says, "This is the silliest stuff that ever I heard." Theseus said, "The best in this kind are but shadows, and the worst are no worse, if imagination amend them." Hippolyta says, "It must be your imagination then, and not theirs." Theseus says, "If we imagine no worse of them than they of themselves, they may pass for excellent men." So there is this sort of dismissiveness of them. There's this sort of sense that, like, these actors think that everything is going really well, and it's not. Like, it's a ridiculously bad performance, but they don't know that. But the Rude Mechanicals don't know that. So, oh yes, okay, so here it is. So this is actually prior to the play starting. So the sort of steward, Philostrate, leaves. He basically tried to talk them out of watching this play because it wasn't going to be good. And Hippolyta says, He says they can do nothing in this kind. Basically, that the actors are going to be terrible. And Theseus says, the kind are we to give them thanks for nothing. Our sport shall be to take what they mistake, and what poor duty cannot do, noble respect takes it in might, not merit. So basically what he's saying here is the fact that they don't know what they're doing, the fact that they're not seasoned actors, they're not professionals, they're not necessarily good even at performance, makes it better that we show our appreciation for the work that they do, for their attempt to entertain us, to be good performers. And again, there is this this is one of the things about Midsummer Night's Dream that I think makes it such an incredibly enchanting play. It's a play that celebrates and takes joy in the attempt to do something, to create something, even when you aren't good at it or prepared for it or able to do it well. There is this sort of joyous amateurishness, despite the fact that this would have been put on by a professional company of actors. Of course, when we performed it in our read-through, that was not the case, but it's this play that's obsessed with the idea of theater and performance and how performance functions, what it means to enact something in a certain way. And the famous closing speech by Puck gestures to that. And I'm gonna leave you with Puck's closing speech, the epilogue of the play, as it were. If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here, while these visions did appear, and this weak and idle theme no more yielding but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend, and as I am an honest Puck, if we have unearned luck, now to scape the serpent's tongue, we will make amends ere long. Else the Puck a liar call, so good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends.